This road is leading from the first landing up to what we call the upper landing. This is one of the top corner boundaries of the property. There's a whole bunch of amazing little violets blooming right now. And I'll show you where to go for the rest of the hike. Follow this old game trail and you will get to an old skid road that was built during the days of logging, which is quite amazing to think it was built with tiny equipment and very strong men. 1 year a bear had a den up in that log. We haven't seen the cinnamon bear for many years, so he's probably not going to be a worry now. It's quite remarkable to find all the moss available on these slopes, and if your dogs have a good nose, they'll probably find some body parts to chew on. At the end of the skid road, you got to take another really steep incline. This is a good cardio. Keep on going until what we call the upper road, which is past these trees. But have a look at the view, because you're gaining some altitude. If you're a smoker, this is probably when you're going to be starting to think about quitting, because it's a lung burner. A little wildflower reward at the top of the hill. There's all kinds of options at this junction, but you get to the top of this skid road and we turn left. The wolf lichen growing in the trees up here is really cool, all that bright yellow stuff. Here you can see the evidence of a bear having come through, ripping the bark off, looking for grubs. Area of Saskatoons and lots of wild maples and junipers in this wet draw. Sometimes this is called sunflower, but these are balsam root flowering, and it's a very fleeting period that they are blooming. We're about 300 feet above lake level right now. This is one of the most monstrous dead pines on the property. To give you a perspective of how big this tree is, Trav figures it's about 6 feet across. Here's another view where you can see our neighbor's house and our fence line going up to the corner of our property. This is the part of the road that sort of disappears into a trail, and we're gonna go into the woods with a lot of trees, a lot of fallen trees, and you gotta be on your wits to get through. This view north is looking at the elephant, so you're kind of looking in the direction of Merritt from Princeton. I love finding little junipers like this in the middle of the road. It's quite a treasure. Go up, off the road, or else you're gonna go way off the road. And this, you gotta just start bushwhacking. Here we go. There's parts of this that can be quite gnarly, so you should have good hiking boots, water, walking sticks. Be careful. There's been a lot of deadfall in this area over the years, and there's a lot of witches' moss or lichen hanging off these trees. It's a pretty cool landscape. Willie's having a drink at the head of what we call Long Gone. This is a little tiny waterway above our property. Cleo's also drinking.
Harbors some old growth trees, and it really shows what forest succession should look like, as well as the spacing between the trees.
The hills are pretty steep right here, and there's a lot of trees and undergrowth. These Douglas maples are our equivalent of Japanese maples. They just have such beautiful canopies.
So if you came up here specifically to dig this,
There's an upper stock pond.
This was the loggers. This was really Roush and Company. You know what I'm talking about.
This area often has wild red columbines flowering. I'm not seeing any yet. There's also a couple of spruces, which are not that common in this area. There's a lot of aspen and a lot of wild maple. We're just coming down from the back of that pond, and we're heading towards a road that is inside of Cook's property that connects up to the back of our property. And there's lots of Saskatoons still in bloom.
Because of the big tree, of course.
Travis just pointed out all of the roseberry on the ground here. Pretty cool. Mosquitoes are just starting to come out. Now we're on the back road up above our property, and we're going to come back down into it with Long Gone to our left. This log demands either the limbo or some
Chainsaw.
crossing on the end. And there you get a view of the highway in the distance, kind of halfway through the frame. This draw is just full of Saskatoons in bloom. You can see why it's popular with bears. Just make out the log laying across that slope on a big diagonal, and that brackets the Long Gone Creek that we were just up above. If you look into almost the center of the frame, you can see the tree stump that Travis just took down. There's pussy toes on this slope, and there's a bunch of dogbane, and there's one little tiny delphinium, but there's usually quite a really large anthill. I don't know if it's still active, but it's been quite a thing. This is an area behind the cabin that Travis and I have worked a lot at, clearing and reducing the fuel load. You can see all the Saskatoons in the wooded areas that are still in flower. And there's Travis's tree that's now becoming firewood. You can make out our cabin in the distance, and then this is where his pile of wood is. And the tree that is now missing. We'll walk over there and you can see this is all Saskatoons that are coming. When we have winters with really heavy snowpack, it melts and comes trickling down into this stock pond here. And this is what we call the lower stock pond. And when it overflows, it actually trickles in a stream just past the house in the distance. You can see all of the tree blood from Travis's carnage. And there's the beginning of his pile. It's a tree that the beetles had gotten to. And you can see how it lived through a fire. And you can see how much more he still has to chop up.
Hello. It smells really good.
And coming out of the woods, here we are back at the house.